McClunky, fellow armchair Imagineers, Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Jacob Oil 2.
And as we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. All right, folks. All right. This is going to be a little bit of an abridged episode. We're basically just going to do the recaps. None of the tales from the vault, none of the news. There's not really enough to talk about with either of those things. But importantly, for those of you who have been following my cell phone saga of me not being able to watch Disney Plus on my phone, I don't know what they did, but it doesn't seem to be an issue. The issue I was having was that it would go to a black screen after about a minute or two of watching it. And honestly, I've been able to watch all of Goldblum, all of Imagineering Story on my phone, no issue at all. So yay, that's solved. All right. Moving on. Who's ready to talk some Mandalorian?
Mando!
Woo!
Mando.
All right. All right, folks. So Mandalorian episode 5. Before we get into any sort of spoiler territory, let me just say, I, like a lot of people on the internet, my general sort of thesis on this episode, it's got some really killer fan service, some good visuals, but man, I wasn't feeling it from a story perspective, and I will defend the hell out of episode 4 before this one because I don't know. I don't know if it was like the performance from one of the lead guys here, which we'll get into. I don't know what it is. This felt off. This did feel off. I feel like at this point it's too it's too late in the game to be making decisions that Mando's been making. One specifically involving leaving something in the ship that I don't want to spoil. Just fuck it. If you don't know about Baby, leaving Baby.
I think everyone knows about Baby. People ranted about lack of Baby Yoda merchandise. I think the cat's out.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so the choice to leave Baby Yoda on the ship for Mando. It's like really are we? I don't know. I didn't buy that. There were definitely things about this episode that really felt off for me. I like the Tatooine stuff, but that was really about it, just kind of the general fan service.
The whole episode is technically Tatooine stuff, so...
You know what I mean, the Mos Eisley stuff. I don't know, man. I guess the character that I really wasn't feeling, I think his name is... oh, God, what is this
Taurah?
guy?
You mean Taurah Calican?
Yes, the bull. The bull, because we have to have really generic names in Star Wars now. Yeah, Taurah.
Jake Carnival. It's Bobby Carnival's son, Tiki.
I kind of guessed that. Well, look, I love Bobby.
Well, here's something you didn't guess.
I love Bobby.
Sidney Lumet's grandson.
Oh, God. You're right. I wouldn't have guessed that. I love Bobby Carnival. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know, man. This guy is just like... Man, he is just such a wannabe Han Solo. I did not buy his performance at all. I hate to be negative about it, but like so much of this episode kind of relies on this guy. And honestly, his performance, I just didn't buy at all throughout a big majority of the episode. I didn't find him threatening when he was meant to be threatening. I didn't find him sympathetic when he was meant to be sympathetic. I'm sorry, I'm coming down pretty hard on this one. And I think story-wise, like I said, between the whole, just flat out leaving Baby Yoda on the ship and really not accomplishing much at all in terms of the story, like I will give you 10 solid reasons why episode 4 accomplished more than episode 5 in regards to just building Mando's character and motivation and everything. This one is the episode that really felt like it was spinning the wheels the most throughout all 5 episodes so far. I was kind of let down by this one.
Okay. I think you're out of your mind.
Okay, fair enough. It's not an unpopular opinion, Dragon.
I really like this one. I thought it was, of course, it's our first.
I liked it, but it's like I said, I would say it's the weakest of the 5 at the very least.
I don't know. I really liked it. I liked it when we have like Return to Tatooine, post the trilogy. It's the first Return of Tatooine, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of neat, kind of revisit Mos Eisley. It's the cantina. It's not just a cantina; it's the cantina. And here's what's really funny about this. Of course, like 6 years since then, maybe a little bit, maybe 6 or 7 years. You want to factor in Empire and all that sorts of stuff like that. The point being, it's been years since we saw it last. You know what's funny about this? I love there's some progression to the cantina.
The droids,
droids. We serve their kind there. We have droids and also the mantis head guy. They worked in like even the old crappy effects from the.
Oh God!
Did you notice that they had like a?
I did. Yeah,
the mantis head guy there. That was really cool. Honestly, to me, this was a straightforward bounty hunter dilemma here. We have, like I said, gets shot down. He's grounded on Tatooine. You need repairs, which leads. Okay, I got a target on my back, which led to these repairs, and that's not helping the situation. So I got to get a job to get some money so I can pay for the repairs, and we get out of here. So classic bounty hunter situation. I like seeing that. Which of course, let's talk about kind of the mechanic here. Let's talk about Peli. Billy Moto, Amy Sedaris, the lovely Amy Sedaris, Princess Carolyn, man.
I love Amy Sedaris. I thought she stuck out like a sore thumb in this role, man. I don't know. There's something about this show and kind of the onslaught of the celebrity comedian cameos that it's kind of distinctly Mandalorian at this point. It's something that we're getting Bill Burr next episode, if you didn't know that.
I know we're getting him. You think it's next episode?
It's next episode, I'm pretty sure. So, I don't know. I like the look of her. The look of her is straight out of 77. Honestly, it's more Star Wars Holiday Special than Star Wars A New Hope, which I don't have a problem with. I like it. My issue is just I don't know. I didn't really feel like her character. Again, it comes back to she was fine. It was just it comes back to the Baby Yoda side of things. There's no reason.
Okay, look, I will meet you halfway in saying, the fact that he's meeting Baby Yoda he's leaving Baby Yoda on the ship. Yeah, that's starting to get a little old. He's not figuring I got to strap this kid in or something. The fact that he hasn't picked up on that at this point, it's starting to get a little old. But it's kind of like a dramatic conceit. You kind of need it to get in the shenanigans and stuff. And we'll see if they. Honestly, if they don't do anything, if they don't start to address something like that in the next episode, then I think we're going to have a kind of a problem with that. But right now, it's just kind of dramatic conceit.
Technically, he does have a reason to leave him on the ship.
Well, sure. I'm just saying the fact that he didn't kind of fasten him down or something. The fact that
he kind of did when he closed that area that he's in.
Oh. Well, I mean, did he just use the curtain, or was it that it was actually fast? Was there something?
No. It was like a door that closed. Like we closed the door right in front of him.
Fairness, we're not considering here. He's forced. He probably used the force to get out of there. So therefore, but honestly, I think it's going to happen. It's the fact that the baby can escape the thing. It's probably that's the deal, I guess.
No, I mean, I get that. I'm just saying this isn't the first time we've seen Baby Yoda escape something.
Anyway. I mean, I do like the fact I like this Pele Moto character. It's kind of a little bit of a fun dynamic and kind of the price gouging, the price gouging mechanic who kind of takes a liking towards the kid. It's they kind of forge a little relationship between her and the Mandalorian by the end, where they kind of save each other's bacon.
And of course, the funny thing about it is that she's basically just doing her usual voice, which is Princess Carolyn's voice, and Princess Carolyn, very much has a lot of dialogue in season 6 of BoJack Horseman, very motherly dialogue. So, Dragon, I got to tell you, I don't even say this is a bad thing, but there were moments in this where I was like, man, it really feels like I'm watching BoJack Horseman right now. All right, okay, so let's get to Taurah, because Taurah was sort of my root problem with the episode, and honestly, to me, it just kind of comes down to the acting.
How do you feel about it, Jacob?
I mean, I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. He was obviously supposed to come across as this kind of wannabe kind of guy.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe it's a little bit of a Barbet Solo. I do wonder, because
that could be.
It's like he definitely he's like this is my way into the guild. It's like I think Mando knows he's just using this guy to get the job, and obviously Mando knows that he's just going to use this guy to get paid.
It's very much we put Mandalorian in kind of a mentoring position as he's kind of going after Shand, who we're going to get to after Taurah real quick here. But the thing is, Taurah, his eyes are bigger than his stomach in terms of bounty hunter work, and that he wants the glitz and the glamour. He wants to be officially inducted, no matter what it takes. And of course, the reputation of the Mandalorian, which of course he's not keeping up to date with, which kind of leads to his folly here. And the Mandalorian knows that the fact that he was shot down and landed on Tatooine. He knows that he has a target on his head, so it's kind of a matter of time before this kid. Again, he's kind of hoping this kid's stupid enough to just like get the job done and get out of there. But I think he's somewhat prepared for a double cross. But by the same token, Mandalorian, as we've seen, flawed character in the best of ways. Now, Mandalorian, he's not perfect. He doesn't get everything right on the first try. And that I love the visual storytelling of we hit all of our beats. We're okay. Taurah sees Baby Yoda. He saw Baby Yoda just in passing. And of course, once he hears this news about the Mandalorian, he puts two and two together rather quick, which leads to the double cross. We're hitting all of our great visual marks in our storytelling. And the Mandalorian very wonderfully communicated that, okay, he pieced the okay, this is going to be a big problem. He knows about Baby Yoda. He's figured out who I am. And seeing the dead body of kind of our target this episode is, okay, this is not going to go well. And he came prepared. Very Albuquerque verse style. He came prepared. Kind of El Camino style. He came prepared. It's quite nice.
Yeah. Didn't see.
Ming-Na Wen, let's talk about Shand. Let's talk about the main target. It leads to one of the best sequences in the episode, the sniper scene.
Yeah, I think the sniper scene was probably the one where, it definitely stuck out in terms of just like the visual action and kinetic energy that it had going for it.
I love using the flares, man. It was a great idea. And of course, the fact that these are the little details I'm living for with Mandalorian right now. Again, almost an Albuquerque verse-esque almost. Where it's like, okay, you can't just be like big hero and you can't just charge at her when she has like, this really high-powered kind of essentially space sniper going on here. You can't like blaster turn sniper. You can't just run. You can't rush her. It's not going to work out. So you have to wait until nightfall. And again, wait until nightfall for this big flares plan, which is really good. It's a good idea. And again, like we're waiting in time. Oh, the speeder bikes are really cool too. It's great to see the speeder bikes again. The speeder bikes are awesome.
And also, a lot of people are definitely speculating that Mando has roots on Tatooine, perhaps working for the Hutts, perhaps working alongside Boba Fett.
Maybe. Now, it's funny you mentioned Boba Fett. Because
Boba Fett?
That guy. The other T-faced guy, anyway. So, there's a mystery man at the end of the episode. So, of course, Ming-Na Wen, who, by the way, I just want to shout out, I met Ming-Na Wen, by the way. Really nice lady. Anyway, Ming-Na Wen, of course, voice of Mulan for the kids out there. Agent May on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the folks who are watching that. Point being, yay, Ming-Na Wen. It's nice to see her here. I'm sure she's really into the stuff, so I'm sure she was a big Star Wars fan. And, she brought an intelligence to the character. She's trying to kind of spin the kid. She almost got herself free. She was manipulating kind of the young green bounty hunter in training who she easily could have killed had he not realized the one fault in her logic. The point being, so her death, of course, being kind of a name assassin that people recognize, and probably the Mandalorians kind of come up against in the past. So again, you might be right about the whole Huttese thing because she was an assassin for the Hutts, from what I hear. Her death brings about the attention of someone who is somewhat of a cape and boots, just kind of walking on the ground there. And
they looked pretty green.
Well, again, it was nighttime. Well, was it nighttime?
I don't remember. I thought it was during the day.
All right. Well, point being, it was kind of hard to tell. Point being, we can't. If it was green, that'd be a real big indicator. That's why I think it had to be nighttime. I think we wouldn't be able to say, "Oh my God, it's green! It's got to be him."
Well. Let's just say the shin pads and the felt kind of looked, and the fabric looked familiar.
I'll bet you it's going to be one of two. It's going to be one of two people. Okay. I think smart money is that it's going to be Moff Gideon, as in it's going to be Giancarlo Esposito's character.
Yeah, that's what I've heard people saying.
Now, again, the amazing way it could go, Boba Fett. It'd be amazing. That'd be great. And it's on Tatooine, which, of course, as Jacob's kind of alluding to here, again, Sarlacc pit on the planet. All one and the same.
Okay, so importantly also, I feel like I feel like Mando negotiating with the Sand People. With
the
Tusken
Sand
Raider.
People. I'm so glad you brought them up. I love we saw the Raiders from last episode, and now
Dragon, I bet
Sand
you had the same emotional reaction to the Sand People that I had to the Jawas, right?
Yes, I love the. Here's what they did. I was geeking out so much about this. Dave Filoni did. He wrote and directed this episode. Dave Filoni's as biggest Star Wars fans you're going to come across, and Dave Filoni he got this so right. Where again we have our green bounty hunter, and he's like, the Mandalorian knows what's going on here, knows where they're going at. Of course, roughly by the Dune Sea, you're going to run into or where Luke found him in the first place. You're going to run into the Tusken Raiders, and they just pop up. Like, when Luke kind of turned left and and they attacked him. And we did that here where it's like, he's like, oh yeah, them. Wait, who? And he turns up and there they are. They just appear. And it's great.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
If some people in the comments think it might be Carl Weathers, who, I mean, hey, more Carl Weathers, nothing wrong with that. But again, I'm thinking good Giancarlo. But fingers crossed for Boba Fett, bud. Yeah. Donovan says Fett. Monkey says Carl Weathers.
I just think that if we were going just by the fact that it's the cliffhanger, I think obviously Boba Fett would be the most satisfying answer to the cliffhanger. And honestly, Giancarlo Esposito would be probably the most disappointing just from a cliffhanger point of view, just because it's like, oh, it's some guy we haven't met before. All right,
still, they're building this guy up. Maybe we shouldn't say disappointed. We don't know how the guy's going to be yet.
But I'm just saying, like, if it is Carl Weathers, then that's at least really cool from a story perspective, because it's like, oh man, it's like, this guy is not just like a 2-episode character. Like, this guy's going to be in it for the long haul of the show if it is Carl Weathers.
Sure.
So a lot of, I'm just saying, like, with Giancarlo, it's like, it's probably the least interesting from like a reveal point of view, you know? They're
promising something. Here's the thing, they've been really coy about Giancarlo Esposito. All they've said about his character, outside we see like a quick glimpse of the guy from like, kind of the shoulders up. I believe it's Giancarlo with a mustache too, I think. Yeah, anyway.
Ooh.
Point being,
flavor of Giancarlo.
Regardless, it's Giancarlo. All they've said about him is that this is a guy who, again, he's a Moff, which implies he was like kind of a Governor Tarkin sort of thing. It implies, regardless, this guy, he was really shaken up since the fall of the Empire. So he's been, and of course, a big image from this episode that was kind of promised in the trailers and everything. We had the really eerie, very Ewok-esque kind of like the impalings of the stormtrooper helmets. And I think I would argue to you we're building up this character with images like that.
I got like a French Revolution vibe from that.
Sure. I'm just saying we also had that with the Ewoks. But I mean, yes, you're right. It is French Revolution. You're right. But my point is, I think with that imagery, and again, maybe if this is, Moff Gideon, or if this is him, again, we might be building up kind of our story here of like we're going to really delve into like kind of the fall of the Empire stuff with this character. It seems like to me.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Also with who the boots could be. Monkey says it's Jar Jar.
Well, JJ said he wanted to kill him off in the Dune Sea, and we are kind of near there.
Okay, let's see. Any other Mando talk this episode?
I got nothing, Jacob.
Nope.
All right. Okay, so moving on to the Imagineering Story. Of course, this one was all about kind of like revitalizing the parks after the kind of the really wacky Eisner Pressler era, DCA 1.0, Disney Studios Paris, those flops. Of course, the crown jewel of Tokyo Disney Sea, which was not financed by Disney. So this really gets into a lot of the stuff that I didn't grow up with, but as an adult, I saw come into the park. So I have an intimate knowledge of this stuff, like Cars Land, Buena Vista Street. I definitely remember all that. Of course, I remember just studying construction photos week by week of the progress on Cars Land and just being blown away about how realistic the rock work looked and how expansive it all was. So yeah, definitely cool to see all that come into the fold.
Yeah, of course we do have some fun crossover here. This is like, there's a little bit of crossover with the Pixar story here. And then, of course, the pivotal moment of the Pixar story where kind of it ends is the entry of Bob Iger to kind of save the day in the whole the waning Pixar-Disney deal. Mm-hmm. Or the arrangement, which then turned into the deal, which kind of buyout and so on and so forth. Point being, I love that moment happens where you see the parade going on, I believe in Tokyo Disney, I think.
I thought it was like Hong Kong.
Well, yeah, sorry, you might. I think.
It could be Hong Kong, yeah.
Well, we see the parade. We have the Pixar characters in the parade, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I know that's the moment where Bob Iger had the light bulb moment. That's what they said in the Pixar story." Which is the other iWorks. There's a crossover, and iWorks in their own documentaries. It's awesome. But yeah, I gotta tell you, here's the thing. I had a moment where I thought this was going to be the last episode when we got to this stuff. In retrospect, I really should have put two and two together. Of course, we're going to get here because if this was made at the time the Pixar story was made, then this is as far as we probably could have gotten with things.
Yeah.
But I got blinded on it, and but regardless,
next episode is clearly going to be Pandora and Galaxy's Edge.
Sure. Regardless, I really liked this episode. This episode was great. I loved it.
Next episode's even called To Infinity and Beyond.
I know.
Oh, there we go. Guys, you want to know what my favorite footage was in this entire episode?
What was your favorite footage in this entire
Seeing
episode?
people work on Peter Pan's flight from ground level.
Yeah, that was good.
That was, I just loved seeing just how small those rooms are, when the lights are on and everything. It's, oh man, it really, that's some footage that I've really never seen, is anyone just kind of like casually walking through that ride.
If I could piggyback.
And the lady mentioning like how it's like how it flooded and a family of ducks made their home in there.
Let me piggyback here. You've segued in the perfect point I wanted to make with episode 5 here. Is that episode 5, the fundamental question of episode 5 is, of course, it's called Carousel of Progress, which is a great title, by the way. And I feel thematically, this one, again, this is why I think 5 might impress me most. I mean, there are a lot of good ones, obviously, and we haven't gotten to 6 yet, but 5 is really impressive. And the theme of this one is, what is progress? Is it, is it adventure, or is it selling out? Is it like the adventure, advancement? I mean, is it advancement, or is it kind of selling out, or kind of like buying things up? Is it kind of success? Is it that sort of progress, or is it the sense of like advancement? Like, how do you define it? It's like, as we go global and kind of bigger than God, essentially at this point with Disney, we're buying up property.
In a weird way, this episode almost kind of sort of shines a light on the controversies surrounding Bob Iger, sort of like monopolizing of IPs.
Exactly, and it's kind of basically he's like doing a grander version of what Eisner's move was slowly being, with getting Star Tours going and Indiana Jones.
Right.
Like, it's kind of like the grander, more perfected version of what Eisner was kind of putting into play, and just Iger's just kind of perfected at that point. And it's and what I'm getting at here is, like, when you pointed out the Peter Pan thing. Of course, Peter Pan, essentially we kind of renovated a thing. We've kind of made it easier, kind of made it a little bit more spectacular. But essentially, the ride is fundamentally the same thing, but we've updated it for so it kind of maintain itself better, maybe a little bit more impressive again for the next generation, let's call it. But again, fundamentally same ride. But then this is the fascinating thing of it here. This is where the correct question really comes into play. We see, as things get a little bit more and more controversial, a little bit more split, a little bit more divided amongst, like, when does a renovation stop and when does something completely new and maybe a little bit of heresy kind of come into play here, where we see Haunted Mansion Holiday, which is a radical idea. I mean, again, some people are split on it, where you have, as we see it here, it's a temporary thing, where it's, okay, well, it's not going to be there 24/7. It's a little update there for the holidays. It looks really neat.
I also kind of felt bad for Kim Irvine there.
Yep.
Felt bad for her throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We go from Haunted Mansion Holiday. Something I never knew happened. We then go to the It's a Small World thing. I didn't know this happened.
Oh, you didn't know about this?
No, I had no. I was completely blown away by this. This whole idea for It's a Small World. They kind of they redecorated it, and they put, at least in one of the parks, they redecorated. They put they made all Disney characters. Made all kind of characters.
It's not all Disney characters. It's Disney characters very strategically mixed in with all the other animatronics. They didn't take away anything to do this update.
Oh, really? So okay, didn't take away.
And that's why I 100% support it.
Yeah, here's the thing, because I was watching, I imagine I could see, as I understood the argument with this. The argument was like, I like the smaller. This is honestly, this is how you would get me to go on It's a Small World. After years of having been on It's a Small World, like, hey, give me out. They have like a section where you have Woody and Jesse in there for a section. You have all these other recognizable characters. I have an attachment towards, and they're like, that's how you get me on Small World. But again, if you have like diehard Small World fans, they're not going to like this at all. It's like, oh god, look, it's kind of it's the perfect symbol of the argument with Bob Iger, what he's doing to Disney, where it's like he's kind of throwing the brand in your face versus kind of what it is. Like, I guess the diehards. Am I anywhere close on that? Is it sounding it's making any sense?
I mean, the thing is, like, that's what people were worried it was going to be, but that's not what it was.
Yeah, certainly.
And nowadays, I feel like when you ride the ride at Disneyland, you barely even notice that it was ever different because it fits in so well. I can't say the same thing about Jack Sparrow, but that's a different argument.
Right.
By the way, the animatronic on Jack Sparrow for like the better part of at least a year has just had this mouth that, like, his mouth has been fixed in one position. He doesn't move his mouth when he sings. The animatronic at the end. Jacob, you saw this, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like he's having a stroke. And yeah, that's something that they really need to fix. I don't know.
Well, he does drink a lot and probably has syphilis, so you know.
But that doesn't explain how he can sing without Luke moving his lips.
That's a bar trick.
He's a good ventriloquist.
Yes. Needs a hobby.
All right. Let's see.
Of course, we saw some of the kind of Toy Story Land, its infancy with Midway Mania.
Cars Land.
Yeah, Cars Land being a biggie. I love that. And of course, I've never seen the way that I love the way they showed it here. The whole Ratatouille adventure, the whole Remy's adventure thing in Paris.
Yeah, this is coming to Epcot in just a year or two, and I'm pretty excited to ride it.
I love that it lets off not in a gift shop but into a bistro. It's awesome.
I like how they showed that it like revitalized the Paris park.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the Paris park, I think, is always going to be kind of like the stepchild of all the Disney parks. I don't think really there's anything they could do to that park to make it not that way. But you're right, Jacob, especially for the identity within the location itself. You know, it was very much an authentically European thing to put in that park to give it a very authentic European identity for sure.
See, if it were, that's the thing, because so many Disney films are set in Europe, essentially. At least off the top of your head, you have Hunchback of Notre Dame, you have Beauty and the Beast, and you have again, you could also work in Ratatouille.
Snow White, Cinderella.
As I'm saying, you have like so many that are essentially set in Europe, and then if you want to go France, you have at least 3 franchises. You have 3 stories in there already, which again we see the cornerstones of.
Bambi was technically, the book was originally set in Germany before they said in an American forest.
Sure, but even if you wanted to go full Parisian, you have like a full section of the bells of Notre Dame. Essentially, you have that going on. You have the Bells Town, and you have you could have Ratatouille in there built in with kind of the Gusteau's place. It's kind of essentially where that attraction. It's kind of a nice little cornerstone. I just like popped out of my head. It sounds really cool.
Are you just like armchair Imagineering right now?
A little bit. I'm not saying it's actually there. I'm saying if you thought about it, you could actually kind of place all the 3 of those things there. Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying, like, that park is incredibly small, and you couldn't actually, there's, I don't know. It's a nice thought in theory, Dragon.
Yeah, and purely in theory.
Space.
I would say purely in theory. If you want to just go all Paris, I mean, those are just the 3 I could think of. Which maybe you can keep it small. Apparently you couldn't. So I don't go any further with it anyway. So, speaking of scale, I want to talk about my favorite moment in episode 5.
Yes.
So I tell you, man, I was utterly gobsmacked by there's this footage. There's this moment in episode 5 that completely blew me away. I had no idea. It's something that you probably should have thought of, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of brought up like something happened at a certain point in time, which of course is the point in time that we're in during this documentary. This stage of the decades in Disney, where it's kind of in the 2006, 2008 area. And we're Tokyo Disney. I believe it's Tokyo Disney, right?
No. It's Hong Kong Disney.
Hong Kong Disney, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
Right, Hong Kong Disney, and it's such a riveting story as we see. The big earthquake happens, of course, triggered the tsunami.
Wait, that is Japan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then it is Tokyo Disney. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. My bad.
Well, there goes my self-confidence. Anyway, so Tokyo Disney.
And was that in like 2011?
Sorry, I'm saying we're in the section which would end in 2000. Fine, we're in 2011. You're right.
Sorry.
Point being, we're in that stage in our story, which kind of makes sense if you really time it. Oh yeah, it would have happened around that time. So so we're at Tokyo Disney, and you have the earthquake, which of course triggers the tsunami. And again, when the earthquake hits, again very localized, they have this footage of basically the park in kind of a melting, because you got to realize, Disney's going to be populated almost every day, or at least almost. So if something bad's happening, around that location, then yes, it would affect Disney, which of course is going to be populated with gobs and gobs of people. And it just struck me so much that they were protected, they were safe, and I love how the documentary is going to take a moment to kind of hold on this, and this the symbolism of they were saved by Disney. The press doesn't get any better than that. You went to a park and it promised your safety, and it delivered on it. Like, the parking lot was in tatters, but everyone was fine and they were covered. Like, they were ushered into the safe locations, and basically the thing I found so effective was that in the aftermath, like, every place is in utter destruction and horror, and buildings floating away. Yet Disney maintained itself, and there was a big building, like, when it was going to reopen, because it became a symbol of hope and safety and security, and that's so tremendous.
And seeing people of that culture just getting emotional walking through the gates again after
yes!
that event.
Not only was it not only a physical saving, but emotionally too.
I mean, Disney became a salvation. You can't come up with.
I think his name was I think the Imagineering Story was Daniel Jue. I think he was the guy who was the executive there. He's talking about people walked down, gave Mickey hugs. They thanked him for saving them.
Yeah, I mean, I was so touched by it. I was so rocked by one that we pulled this footage into. Which, again, it's a perfect story. It's told within this episode, man. I was emotionally just truly touched by it more than anything in the thing as a whole. I mean, I've been touched by a little bit by some of the other stuff. This the first time I was utterly oh my god, it's such a heroic story. It's a phenomenal thing. iWorks outdid herself in this section, man.
Absolutely. All right. So who's ready to talk some Goldblum barbecue?
I could go for some barbecue.
Oh man, god damn! As a foodie, of course, never thought I'd be tempted to eat bugs, but I gotta say, no, I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. Look, would I order a big, large order of it? No. Would I try a couple? Hell yeah! Bring it on.
This is the
Full
second
Timon and Pumbaa.
This is the second episode to feature Goldblum eating bugs.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, what I liked about this episode is I feel like this episode, of course, we got that really hokey but lovable structure with the wife, where it's it starts out oh no, I can't barbecue at all. I can't light the charcoal. I'm a mess. And then he's like, all right, I got to do it. And I got barbecue is in my blood, and I've got to find the curiosity. The curiosity's calling me.
I love seeing his family. I thought that was a little personal layer to the Jeff Goldblum of it all for our series. Again, we're kind of seeing the personal. We saw the childlike wonder. We saw kind of the Goldblumisms, and now we're seeing kind of the family side of Goldblum. The under publicized side of Goldblum, which is quite nice and refreshing.
They're all Goldblums.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, but seeing all these different angles and even the worldly taste, the world, how barbecue and stuff like that is revered around the world itself. That was really fascinating.
My favorite little informative bit, and it's such a simple bit, but you never think about it. I just love the very National Geographic of them, how appropriate. It was grilling versus barbecue, and the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, barbecue takes longer. It's a more involved process. Grilling, it's kind of more instantaneous. It's the flames doing a lot of the work. It's that whole thing.
Can I just say I want to try one of those tomahawk steaks?
Oh my god, yeah. I want to try everything.
So I'm massage the seasoning and everything, and cutting all this. Yeah.
The tomahawk steak was that one with the big bone sticking out of it, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was what they called the dinosaur ribs.
Yes. And looking at that, I was like,
Yes.
First of all, I really like the personality of those guys. I like, let's see, there was one of them. What was his name? Jitterbug.
Yeah, Jitterbug.
I like how Jitterbug was kind of the young one of the bunch, and he was sort of trying to put on a tough guy act for Goldblum, but in reality, he was just as eccentric as Goldblum was, and they really got along.
Yep. I think overall, are we on the same page? Kind of an upgrade from last week's episode.
I would say it's been an upgrade from the past couple weeks. Yeah.
All right.
Well, hold on. There's just a couple more things I want to talk about with it.
Oh, hey, take the floor.
I really like Stephanie Sue in this.
I liked her too. She was good. In general, I feel like the thing that I learned the most about it is just how much you can barbecue, and how barbecue, of course, does not have to just pertain to meat. And I don't know why that didn't cross my mind before, but yeah, just kind of like seeing the cauliflower steaks and everything like that. It's just like, oh man, like there is kind of like a wide world of flavor out there with the barbecue that you can really dive into.
I find it kind of interesting though that even like Jeff's like, I'm definitely not doing bugs.
I don't know. I'd be, again, I wouldn't be down for like a bag full of bugs, but I'd be down for like a small plate of bugs.
I mean, I think he's in the same mindset. I don't think he's going to entirely devote himself to bugs either.
I mean, with the right seasoning, that's what I'm saying. With the right seasoning, with the right flavor, smoked, crispy, I don't know. I could, like I said, I wouldn't like fucking fill my stomach up with it or anything, but I could see myself enjoying a taste. All right. I guess that's about it. But next episode I'm stoked for because it's video games.
I mean, I just really would have liked to be in the parade that see like it's like, oh, it's a Fourth of July parade. Oh, look, there's Jeff Goldblum.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like this episode, it hits a lot of good hallmarks for the show because it's got like the culture, the 4th of July being sort of like the big American tradition, the most barbecuing that goes on within a single day out of the year. And then, of course, it ends in the most adorable sort of wraparound where he's got like all these different, like and it's obviously staged, but I don't care because they're having such a fun time with it. It's like, oh, wow, look at all these, look at all this I can grill now. I'm a grill master.
I hope we see more of his family.
Yeah,
I do too. All right, so yeah, let's talk some One Day at Disney.
All right.
yes. So One Day at Disney, of course, kind of this breakdown on the paths and stories of the of kind of an eclectic assortment of Disney employees.
Oh man, Bob, you have your place in the company. I don't know. The thing about this documentary is that I feel like I'm of two minds about it because when it was first announced, I thought it sounded cool. The idea of the cast members getting to tell their stories, seeing all the different shades of what the cast members' day-to-day lives are like, I thought it was cool. But other people were sort of like, well, it's maybe like a propaganda because, at the time there were a lot of controversy over, hours being cut, pay being cut, stuff like that. Specifically within the parks division, specifically because Galaxy's Edge didn't go over quite the way people were expecting it to. So there was a lot of drama in the casting department there that I was kind of privy to over the last kind of like 6 months or so. So with that being said, I like all the individual stories within this documentary, and I won't take that away from it at all. I think for most of the stories are good. Some of the stories are really fascinating.
Some may be a little out of places, and they're good, but they really belong in One Day at Disney, right?
I hear you. I think my favorite one is honestly the Rafiki lady.
Yes.
But I don't know, guys. There's something a little bit disingenuous about Iger in this documentary.
If I could feel this one, Bob. So
yeah,
this one. I'll tell you this. Look,
I am not someone who's out to hate on Iger, okay? Because I'm always a big defender of like the maverick that is Michael Eisner. And so with Bob Iger, he's almost kind of like in the same spot, except sort of like on steroids compared to what Eisner did. And it's like, I don't know how I feel about that. But the fact of the matter is, seeing Bob Iger sit in on Pixar meetings and, just kind of like so coyly talking about Walt's legacy, and I don't know, there was something just a little bit icky about it. And I really wanted this documentary to not have that feel, and it did.
It was not the best note to start the thing on, at least with Bob Iger. Seriously, I like story-wise where we build up the whole Iger's ABC rise to the Disney thing within the stories. That was not a bad. That was a good idea.
Uh-huh.
However, starting it with him like saying having a creative meeting at Pixar, where look, I want to make it clear, I really do like Bob Iger, and the fact that, again, he, as I mentioned earlier, kind of helped get Pixar out of the fire when things are looking really bad for him.
Sure.
I will always respect Bob Iger for that. Again, but that's why they cast Ted Beneke as him in the biopic. You know, we want to do Bob Iger right. But in all seriousness, it's But yeah, I did feel I felt something off when that scene was going on, because Bob Iger, again, he's the businessman. He's a good businessman, but again, he's not really the creative guy. And I think that shows. I'm not saying he can't have ideas, but not ideas, and he wouldn't drop by Pixar and lead a creative meeting. I don't buy that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say anything about the guy, but again, I don't buy it. And that's something that was kind of a weird note to start things off. And I think it was basically working against that from the beginning. Again, most of the stories grabbed me. Some were a little bit like, yeah, we want to get in all the sections that we can, kind of the first hour of things here. So basically, so running down a few of them here. So Eric Goldberg, of course, we're all familiar with Eric Goldberg, right?
Mm-hmm. That's probably my personal favorite section.
Eric Goldberg's great. Of course, got his big break on Aladdin. Of course, the big Robin Williams kind of genie test that he did. The big kind of like animating to the comedy album. It's a huge feather in his cap.
Eric Goldberg was all over the Aladdin DVD and the commentaries and the documentaries and everything. So that's kind of the main place I know him from.
I love seeing the Al Hirschfeld wall. That was great.
I really liked it. I really liked like they told him, you don't have it, like you're not good enough here, Eric. And now he's like one of their most legendary animators.
Certainly. Oh man.
Tiki, you know who really struck a chord with me was the train guy.
Yeah, Mark Gonzalez. I knew you were gonna like this guy. This is what I was hyping up to you, Tiki. This guy.
This guy is pretty much like definitively like, yep, that's the hashtag squad goals right there. I don't have a squad, but that's my goal.
You know what line really struck me with him? I'm sure you loved.
What?
It all started with a train, because again, when he came up with Mickey,
it's totally true. It
was on a train. That was a great bit.
I mean, not only that, but so much fundamentally in Disney could be rooted back to trains. I could geek out about it. Like Star Wars Land and Disneyland is literally bordered by trains. There's so many fundamental things about trains.
Essentially, the theme park started on a train, which kind of lets the merry-go-round. Whole thing there. Let's see. Now here's the thing. Robin Roberts, the news anchor. Riveting story. Not really Disney though.
That could have been like its own sort of like half-hour mini documentary.
National Geographic. Give her own thing on National Geographic.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to discount it at all, because it's good stuff. It's like
it is actually riveting, just not. One day it is. Again, they tied into the whole Iger ABC thing, which I get, but I still don't like. At the end of it, when she said she knew Bob Iger, okay, that's where they're getting.
And that's the thing. That's another thing that felt kind of disingenuous about it. It's like, oh, good old Uncle Bob.
Don't go with Uncle Bob. That just sounds bad. Anyway, the fact she went through the basically she documented her blood illness as she, of course, was thinking about this while she sat down with the big famous Obama interview about where he stands on gay marriage. It was a huge thing. It was a huge deal for her. It was awesome. Now, here's my favorite, the one that really touched me, man. I knew about this guy, but I never saw the guy really. I've always heard about him. I always heard Jerome Ranft.
Oh yeah, I had a feeling that definitely get to you for sure.
Of course, I love Joe Ranft. Joe Ranft, he's the fourth pillar in the formation of Pixar. Of course, the four people that made Toy Story, Joe Ranft is key. And I always knew he had family. And of course, his nephews and stuff would have voices in some of the movies of some of the kids, like Monsters Inc., for example, Jordy Ranft, and of course, I knew he had a brother, Jerome Ranft. Now, Jerome here, I forgot that his specific role was sculpting. He did the sculpting, of course, in the early days of Pixar, essentially before they can just kind of do it. Sometimes they can do it purely on the computer, but more often than not, I want to say they still do some capacity, but as he says, and he kind of verifies, they don't really do this anymore specifically. They just do it more as an artistic thing, and sometimes they don't have to scan it anymore, to my understanding. When the days like Toy Story, they had to sculpt every character and then draw lines on. They had to scan in with the computer, and that's how they had the models. That's why they look a little. That's why things kind of been refurbished over the years. Anyway, so you get to see him do his sculpting. He's a phenomenal sculptor. Oh my goodness, the man's an artisan with his hands. He is. And yeah, I tell you, it was really great to see him. And still, he's doing work on Pixar and Disney and the whole bunch, and seeing the pictures of him and Joe is, oh man, it hit me in the feels, man. It really did. It hit me in the deep feels. Veterinarian, though, didn't need the vet. I don't know why the vet was there. We need to see. Like, I get it's a studio thing; they're taking care of the animals. That's a PR move right there. We have to show the veterinarian with the pregnant porcupine. I don't care about that.
Wow. Talk about switching gears there. Yeah, screw animals.
But to bring it back, something that was amazing. This sounds so terrible. Bring it back. Okay, bring it back though. Marvel Studios, the designer from Marvel Studios, that was awesome.
Okay, you know what, Dragon? To me, that was the one that felt corporate. Like, all right, and we got Marvel too, and we gotta have someone from Marvel.
Okay, let me put it this way: this one, the Marvel Studios one, got me.
I mean, at least the veterinarian one is unique. You know, it's like, and yeah, Animal Kingdom, you need people like that to run that park.
You do.
You know, as the documentary quotes word for word, that park, say it with me, Dragon, broke new ground. So, you know, I'm totally happy with the veterinarian in there. With the, I don't want to sound mean, but with the Marvel guys, just kind of like, all right, it's another guy at a computer doing computer effects.
Well, so were all of them. Okay, anyway, here's why I like the Marvel, specifically what I like the Marvel Studios thing. Here's what got me, because of course we got to see this guy's had a very specific role. He's one of the guys responsible for the Endgame cap suit. And I love that. And he added the scallops, man. He added like the chainmail scallop thing, which that was like a little fan thing for me. I've always like, I really love that going into Endgame and see, this is the origin for it, man. It's the guy designing it. That's so awesome. I thought that was more for me. I don't want to come down.
Go ahead. Sorry,
I don't want to retract some of the vet stuff. And that honestly, I think out of 50, we learned that they're doing 52 shorter segments after this hour documentary. That's 52 segments, which I believe at least 7 of those are going to be basically what's in this documentary broken down, because the first one they put out was Eric Goldberg, so they're trying to stall as they put in the new stuff. But I feel like the vet thing could have been like one of those 52 segments, honestly.
So one person that's in here that I might have like indirectly interacted with, but I definitely interacted with her creation, was the woman, the walk around droid.
Oh yes,
which is definitely something that I did come across in Tomorrowland. Ezra, Sandy Claus, was actually with me. It was me, Sandy Claus, and Monkey. Remember that, Rob? Remember that? I see in the comments there. Yeah, and so I wonder, you know, because of course it seemed to me like she definitely was the sort of the brainchild behind that whole project, and you know, she definitely worked really closely developing that thing. I don't know if she was the actual person behind the control panel for the droid. Maybe did I miss that detail? But still, just seeing the person, you know, who pretty much like directly designed something that you interacted with on a whim that may or may not even be incorporated into Galaxy's Edge at some point. That was kind of a cool fanboy thing for me.
That was really, I was really sweet. That I love her talking about that walk around character. Was really nice. Well,
you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like those, you know, those corny but good sci-fi movies where people make friends with robots.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was so cute. Her being friends with
like Robot and Frank or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, you did watch that, right?
No, I haven't, but I'm just using that as an example of like a feel-good version of a good robot movie.
There's that, Tiki. That's a really good one.
I believe you. I believe you.
Anyway, but yes, yeah, I hear you. Though, you know, it was really cool. Also, Sterling K. Brown doing narration again. It was funny. I finished Marvel's Mrs. Maisel recently. He had a really good part in that too. So Sterling K. Brown's been popping up. He's been Frozen 2. He's been Marvel's Mrs. Maisel.
He's also in Waves. He's got a big supporting role in Waves.
Sure, and of course he's doing narration for this. So yeah, he's Sterling K. Brown, awesome actor. I love that guy.
All right. So, Dragon, I actually watched Forky this week. Can you believe it?
Get out! It's Forky Asks.
Man, Dragon, I remember when I would get in trouble on Disney message boards for posing scenarios like this. Oh man.
You mean you basically you pulled the whole Dave Goals thing on those message boards?
No, they let's just say on an Ask Donald a Question thread, I would post like, "Hey Donald, I'm I'm Mickey and I got with Daisy. What you gonna do about it?
It's just.
But still, regardless, it's like, there's definitely like relationships and interpersonal, like, I love the setup for this because basically the setup is essentially like we've got these really old sort of vintage toys who, of course, are voiced by iconic comedians. Dragon, would you like to list them off?
I would like to, yes. We have Carl Rhinoceros, played by the great Carl Reiner. We have Cheryl Burnett, which is my favorite pun, by the way. Cheryl Burnett. Carol Burnett. We have Melephant Brooks. I think pretty much fill in a lot of these names here. Mel Brooks, Betty White.
Oh my god.
So yeah, of course the great. And they were in Toy Story 4, and the idea these were Bonnie's toys before she kind of hit her groove. Like I assume Dolly was the original. Like she was the Woody of the room, and then it was Dolly and these guys, and then she gets stuff like Trixie and Miss Prickle Pants, that sort of stuff. I think those guys came with the second wave of toys, if you will. Anyway, so the point is these are the older guys. Again, the older trained actors being the gag. If Bonnie's room is kind of the acting workshop for toys in terms of how her room works. So Forky's asking the question. He's asking the question we all ask ourselves at one time or another. What is love? I don't know. So basically, we're mocking soap operas, and I support anyone who mocks soap operas personally because I can't stand them. I really don't. I'm sick. The only soap operas I'll tolerate are CW ones, and that's something anyway. It's quite hilarious. It showcases some classic comedy talent, as we've already mentioned. It's funny and ridiculous. Just.
So, of course, I love the setup here where, the first part, it almost kind of reminds me of the setup of the Just Giggle It sketch, honestly, where, the first part of it is like, okay, we're going to very straightly play off how a casual relationship would be. It's like, all right, I like you, you like me, let's get together. Basically like the Barney theme song version of love.
But then things escalate.
And Forky's just like, I don't like it. It's boring. And then, yes, things escalate, and everyone is cheating on everyone, which is, of course, the very messy, version of how adult relationships, many of them at least, seem to be functioning these days.
And
I don't know. I haven't been in one in roughly about 10 years, but that's what I hear it's like.
Mocking all the soap opera
twists. Make me want to jump back into a relationship anytime soon. I'm sorry, Dragon. Go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt you. So again, we keep every reveal. This is like a twist in a soap opera, which is hysterical. Like literally, Bitey White comes out of the shadows. It's like literally makes an entrance. So it cracks me up. Oh god, it's just ridiculous. And of course, also continuing the running gag, Bob Peterson, man, Bob freaking Peterson, directed and writing these, and again, the Monsters Inc. gag reappears. Boo theme, man. We keep bringing back the Boo theme.
Oh god. And then, of course, I love the punchline. Just after all the shit goes down, the soap opera shit, Forky's like, "Oh, I could get into this."
Of course, the post-credit gag too. I think it's a post-credit gag.
Yeah, it's a post-credits. Yeah.
Carl Rhinoceros. He's also he has a horn. It's.
It could work, man. I think he made a noble enough attempt.
So, to be fair, again, he's a little old for it, so.
Yeah. But yeah, he just walks up to Forky. He's like, kind of basically. I'm sorry, not Forky. Trixie. And basically does kind of like a "how you doing?" and Trixie's like, "Nope."
What's funny though? Who I expected to make an appearance? It's a little bit of a missed opportunity, but they went in a really fine direction with it. So, God, here I'm gonna kick myself because I found out in the commentary that Knifey actually has a name that's ridiculous and it's hysterical, but it's not Knifey. The point being the knife, because she had like a dual name sort of thing. It was like a Jessica something. It was something. Point being, anyway, so we have the female knife. I'm surprised she didn't make an appearance in terms of like Forky asking about love, maybe on the occasion of the knife or something. I don't know. All
right, and then finally, Pixar in real life with the and also, did we mention already that the Forky shorts are now collected into one volume?
We have now.
Okay. All right, so yeah, Pixar in real life took them long enough to come out with another episode, but here we are.
I'm an old man now. I'm glad to have seen it though. Anyway, Finding Dory. That's kind of the new. That's the prank that we're doing this time around. You got to be honest. This is the one I was really looking forward to based on that trailer. I was like, oh man, this one looked most impressive. What do you think of it?
Okay, considering that I've interacted with that droid from the Day at Disney documentary in real life, I would have to say that that is more convincing than what looks to be going on here. I don't want to be picky about this, but this just seems to be, honestly, it mostly seems to be a show for the kids. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I don't really think the adults are, buying it at all. And I don't know. These things are kind of going over like a lead balloon for me, if I'm being honest.
I mean, look. To be fair,
I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying, like, the premise of it, I don't know. I don't necessarily think this whole thing is living up to its full potential. I think maybe if they had a better budget for the animatronic.
well, first of all, I think it's a little different. They have like a droid that very easily you can have in real life and the interactions and everything. Versus like really bringing computer animation into the real world. I think that's a little. I don't know. I like that the effect.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Point being, like I would have. I is really stuck. I look at the little Dory in the sippy cup and everything. Is really.
You know what I wanted to see, and I have no idea how they could have done this technologically speaking, but I really wanted to see like bags of fish rolling around.
Oh god, that would have been maybe down the line, maybe. But of course, they called it A113.
Yes, that was great.
Well, the cast members and the whole plants of it all thought it was kind of a neatly conceived idea. Like, okay, well, I'm looking for an octopus. An octopus. Like,
the cast members were definitely the best part of it. Yeah.
All
right.
Brings us to a close.
So, yeah, I think that's about it. All right, so folks, of course, next week we'll be going over episode 6 of most of these shows: Mando, Goldblum, Imagineering Story. Imagineering Story is going to be the finale, and let's see, anything else? We'll of course we'll be covering Forky, maybe the One Day at Disney stuff. I'm not sure.
Well, again, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say they're just going to first release the ones that ever conclude within the hour. Then after that, we're going to get the new stuff. So
right. So mostly next week it'll be back to just Mando, Imagineering Story, and Goldblum as our 3 main talking points, probably.
Pretty much.
Most likely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, also just shouting out in the comments, Monkey has been on for a lot of this. Inhuman Quake popping in. Claude Karinga, good to see you on board. And Donovan Martin. Great to see such fan engagement on here, you guys. I say this every time, but you rock, and the level of fan engagements in the comments when we do stuff like this is a big part of the reason why Dragon and I and Jacob and everyone keep doing it. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate that. That'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just Plus and Us.
Dear Plus.
I wonder if I should go for the high score in Pac-Man.